Hello, everybody, and hello, Lightbox Expo 2021. My name is Adam Hartel, and I am going to be your host today for our costume sketch session. I am also streaming from the Gnomon School stream, and we're very, very proud to be partnering with Lightbox this year to host these sessions on our streaming channel. Just a little bit of housekeeping for you guys. If anybody is in need of closed captioning, we have that available on our Facebook live stream. So we're streaming currently on Facebook, YouTube, as well as Twitch. But if you need closed captioning, head over to our Facebook channel and check out the stream there, and you will be able to get that available to you. So today we are going to be getting down to business as quickly as possible because we've already got some fantastic artists in our Magma canvas, warming up, sketching, having a great time. And we've got a really, really great hour and a half ahead of us. So what I'd like to do is just very quickly introduce some of these amazing artists that we have with us. So I think what I'll do is get my screen share up so you can see the canvas that's happening. And then we'll start bringing in these artist webcams as I introduce them. So first up, I'd like to introduce Mike Uwandi, who is one of the co-founders of 9B Collective. Mike also works at Marvel, worked recently on The Mandalorian, done some really amazing stuff. Hello, sir. How are you?
Good. How about yourself?
Good. It's good to have you with us. Yeah.
Likewise.
Yeah. Also with us today is Philip Boutte Jr., who is also one of the founders of 9B Collective. Hello, Phil. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing great. Yeah, we'll kind of get in as we hang out. We'll get into everybody's story and stuff like that. But mostly we're going to create and draw. But Phil also has worked with Marvel and worked on some amazing projects. And you guys both have some really cool stuff happening over at 9B. I was on the drink and draw that you guys were hosting last night, and that was super, super fun. Also with us today is Kay Asadera, joining us from, there we go. Hello, Kay, how are you?
Hi, I'm great.
Awesome, it's great to have you with us. I think everybody who's familiar with Lightbox is probably already very familiar with you, but you know, you've got a really awesome career. You are an Emmy winner. You've done a ton of shows on Netflix. You and Bobby are doing quite a bit with Schoolism together, and it's really cool to be with you today.
It's an honor to be amongst these amazing artists. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Next up is Imogene Chase. Bring Imogene's webcam up. There you are. Hello, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
It's really cool to have you with us. I think word on the street has it that you have been working on the new Game of Thrones.
That was a couple years ago, and unfortunately that project got did not get the green light.
Okay.
But it was one of the best things I've ever worked on, for sure.
Awesome.
Unfortunately, it will never see the light of day. So.
Well, that's like, isn't that like somewhere between like 75 to 90% of our projects sometimes that we work on? Like, yeah, really cool stuff, but sometimes it doesn't see the light of day. But it's super cool to have you with us. I actually had I was introduced to you through Kyle Brown.
That's right. His class.
Yeah, it was really cool to have you visit and drop some knowledge on us. That was awesome.
Oh. Thank you. No, that was a really great experience. You guys are awesome.
And next up, we have Griselda LeMay, who is with us. I'll close my chat here so I can see all your windows. Hello, Grizz. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. It's great to have you with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you are currently working at Disney. Is that right?
Correct.
And you are, let's see, you are doing, I've got my notes here. You're a costume designer at Disney Feature, isn't that right?
At the moment, I am doing some costume design.
Very cool. So we are in good company. And then last but certainly not least, I want to introduce Carla Ortiz, who is joining us.
What up?
Hey, Carla. So cool to have you with us.
Yeah, it's so great to be here amongst everybody sketching and drawing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I actually first heard about you through, I think it was like through Schoolism and through some of the streams some years ago. It might have been one of the first things you did with Bobby.
Oh man, that was a while ago.
Yeah, immediately started following your work. I've got, I have framed the very well-known painting that you did of Doctor Strange on that project. Yeah, hanging in my living room downstairs because my wife and I are both huge nerds.
How do you even get that?
It's not a professional print. It's a fan print.
That's amazing.
I probably have to burn it now.
Oh yeah, the mouse is gonna knock on your door. Yeah, it's gonna be like, "Excuse us, sir, what you doing?"
No, my wife and I absolutely love that piece, and so we're big nerds for that.
I can send you something if you remember.
Oh, that's sweet. But yeah, we've got all you guys already in the Magma canvas. You guys are sketching and having fun. I mean, that's what I love about getting artists together. We kind of we populate the fun through our creativity. So I think you guys want to chill like this just a little bit. I also have sort of a background that I've prepared that we can start drawing costumes over. But if you guys want to chill, warm up, maybe chat it up a little bit with each other, I think that would also be really fun.
Art brain go burr.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm just like, this is a new toy. I want to play. I want to know
Absolutely.
more. This is cool.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why I'm here, so that none of you feel like you have to be talking while you're drawing. Like I'll kind of keep the conversation going, but you just have a good time.
I think just warming up for a little bit, and then getting into like some cool costume work would be cool. But I'm just like, whee!
Absolutely. No, and I remember getting to host some of these last year. These are so fun. These art jams, because we see a lot of your guys' professional work, but it's so cool to see all of you together just playing, just having fun and doing what you love to do.
Mm-hmm. It's so fun. Also, like Kay, everybody's doing such cool work. Look at this, so cute! Oh my god! That's the problem with stuff like this, though, is that I want to troll. Well, not really a troll, but like just go everywhere and be like, "Oh, he's a chef. Yes, I love him. Does he need like some eggs? You know, he needs his pan. Like
That's so fun, though.
Easy to collaborate."
Is it really trolling though? Isn't it more like just having fun playing?
It's playing. You're right. It's not really trolling.
I knew Phil was gonna do that. I was waiting.
I mean, if you're
kind of looking at you though, huh? Like he really does.
Oh man, I can't go back. Here we go.
Where's the?
You already committed. It's too late.
I've already committed to it.
Like I kind of just, hold on.
Just make up a whole story.
Fun to do.
Yeah, I feel like these characters could all coexist.
Yeah, I think so.
Exist in the same world.
Yeah, totally.
Kingdom Hearts exists. This exists. I think it makes sense.
Right. Yeah, one of the things I love about these sessions is just seeing the garden grow, right? Like everybody gets started and then it slowly just takes over the whole canvas.
I forgot how chicken looks. Oh my god, it's a chicken. All right, cool. I wasn't that far off.
Give up. I'm like, wait, where's the rest?
He's so angry, Michael. He's like, it's time. He's like the chefinator. It's time to cook.
Actually, though. Actually. Plot twist.
With a very concerned. It's not going to go well here.
Now the chicken has the anime like sweat. Like, oh shit, the shit's getting real weird.
Oh no. Maybe I should go somewhere.
It's too late, though.
It is too late. Like, all right, I'm gonna finish. I had a more serious drawing going up here, and then. That's so good. All right. Okay. Cool. There you
So it's kind of like.
Oh no!
Yeah, the story with this chef and this chicken is taking really crystal clear shape at this point.
Yeah. It's like,
wait. He was really chill, and then suddenly his eyes started glowing, and a mechanical hand came out of nowhere. And
like, I thought Chicken McNuggets was a place to party. It seemed this way. Like, no.
We laugh, but this is how professional stuff gets done, son.
True.
Yeah, is this a metaphor? Is could the chef be like
your art director?
Art director, yeah. I was gonna say art director, but I didn't want to throw any shade on art directors. So
Our art directors are great, but that still doesn't take away that they're just
right.
Like, hey, don't worry about this.
But I think every art director is also a chicken too, right? Like they're under somebody as well. Like everybody's under their own pressure.
Wow, this quickly turned into a crazy capitalist allegory. What the hell?
That's not how I meant it.
That's totally how you meant it.
Yeah. Now I need to give the chicken more drama. Hold on, there it is.
I feel like this guy who Phil is drawing is just suspicious of what's going on over here.
Yeah, Phil, that's a great drawing, by the way.
I feel like this is the first time I've drawn in years. Like, having a really good time with it.
He's like, something suspicious is going on over here. And
Trust. I went to this restaurant. It said it was organic. I didn't realize how organic.
Suspiciously vegan. Is that what's happening?
Someone said to fight back chicken. Okay, hold on.
Yeah, who's the chicken's champion going to be? We need a hero to rescue the chicken.
No, the chicken's got it.
Oh, okay. This is a very self-reliant chicken.
Hold on.
This is a fierce chicken.
The Buster Sword right now, so.
I was gonna do a chef knife, but Buster Sword. Let's
Buster
go.
Yes.
But if this chicken has a Buster Sword, then you know what this means. Hold on.
Oh no. Yeah, you did.
I did. Okay, hold on. Were we just talking about my deep, undying love for Final Fantasy VII?
I think we were, yeah.
I could totally nerd out on that because I am one of the biggest RPG nerds of all time.
What? Michael, really?
Oh, 100%.
Yo, we need to talk. Like what kind? Like JRPGs?
JRPGs all the way.
Yes!
Yes. Lost Odyssey, Final Fantasy 6, 7.
Yes.
Skipping 8, 9, 12, this new game, Fantasian.
Yes.
Tales of Destiny, Star Wars, the list goes on.
Tales of Berseria was amazing.
It was so good.
It was.
I don't feel like it got the credit it deserved, though.
No, it didn't. Because suddenly, boom, you're a bad guy and you're running away, and it's the story of the monster. It's so good. Yeah. I just went on a obsession of like Final Fantasy remake and all the Yakuza games, and now I'm playing the most JRPG game known to man with the most JRPG name ever. It's like Tales of Cold Steel.
Everything is lit. The story specifically, I heard, is really good.
So good. It's like one of the most political games I've ever played, and I'm like, what? You just don't expect it. This is like super cute, like anime, and then you're just like, oh my god, this is like a crazy war story that is happening. And sorry, I think this just became the Michael and Carla nerd out hour.
Jeez, I was like, we can be friends.
We are friends. Let's go.
It's official.
Yeah.
For our audience here, I got to zoom in on the chicken story here for a little bit.
It's getting deep.
I'm gonna zoom in for the stream because there's a lot of really juicy stuff happening here.
We should move to cousin.
Yeah.
Because I will kid you, I will continue like this whole chicken thing and like turn all the characters into chickens. I swear to
That
you.
is probably the bravest chicken I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's trying its best.
Or depending on the chicken, it could be the bravest chef you've ever seen.
Oh,
Like this chicken could be about to throw down.
Girl, I'm hungry. Carla was talking and she said that what did she say? Tales of cold. And my mind just finished with stone. I was like, ooh, ice cream.
Ice cream!
Completely missed the whole anime reference. I was just like, I'm hungry. Something to eat.
No, you guys, we should move on. This is not the most professional thing I've done.
Are you ashamed, Carla?
I'm not. This is my love.
This is gonna get worse because this guy's turning into stuff.
Oh no!
It's getting dark in here.
It's getting so dark in here. Everybody else like, Jesus, look at those nerds.
You don't think anybody who's watching this right now is a nerd? I mean, that's probably like a good 99.9% of our audience, I would think.
Oh, then maybe
we're all are nerds.
Then maybe we don't need to do costumes. Maybe we just need to nerd out.
No, I think we'll take a few more minutes and then I'll call it, and then we'll get to the official theme.
I guess we can.
But this is so fun.
I
guess. Jeez.
But you know what? I think we've got plenty of layers that we can use. So like, don't erase anything when we switch. Please don't erase your art, because I definitely want to save this.
Oh man!
And I'll print it and I'll hang it on my living room wall.
Is this gonna be one of those situations where like everybody has like an amazing painting and I'm just here drawing chickens? Like Final Fantasy chickens and people.
No, FIFA.
Yeah, man. You guys, I'm telling you, if you don't stop me, I'm gonna get the whole crew up in here. It's like Toad, but like without it. It's like.
Good.
Oh, you know what? I just realized that we are having a challenge, I think, fitting everybody's webcam in the frame here. But I think when we go to the costume sketch session, what do you guys think about? Do you want to leave webcams on so you can see each other, or should we turn them off so we can maximize the canvas? What's the vote?
Oh, I like to see people's faces, but I also am not looking at them because I'm drawing.
Exactly.
Sure. Well, and I don't think I'm trying to figure out how to, so like the streaming platform is like maxing out at 5 people, but I'm not able to fit Kay's webcam on the screen. So maybe we can switch in and out a little bit as we go, so we don't miss anybody.
No, you don't want that.
And see, all the art is starting to touch, like it's all starting to come together in the same scene, and I feel like we need to figure out what movie this is a poster for.
Oh God. This is
it's the movie of all of your lives. That's the movie.
Oh no.
Oh man, our lives
I don't know if I want to be defined by this.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that Tifa chicken is pretty cool.
Yeah, awesome.
Thank you.
It's pretty post worthy.
She got it. She got to have. There you go. Oh no. But I just realized Cloud needs to be a rooster.
You know?
Yeah, so I gotta change some colors up in here. Hold on.
This makes it better.
Michael, we best friends.
It was only bound to happen.
It's a matter of time. As soon as such good games.
Oh, here we go. Now I can see all your faces. Perfect. We can bounce. I'll bounce over this just a little bit from time to time, so we aren't pushing anybody out of the screen.
But we should move on.
Yeah. Are you guys ready to call it?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys literally filled up the canvas in just half an hour. That's awesome. That's the same time it took Bob Ross to paint a painting.
You know,
there's something kind of depressing where it's like Bob Ross, this majestic like background, and we're over here like, hey, look at this. Like, I don't know though.
No comparison.
This cat is incredible. This section right here.
Yeah.
10 out of 10. You too, Phil. And pretty much everybody, except I just was like,
Hey, does everybody know how to start a new layer of their own?
Yeah.
If you don't, then maybe you guys can. I can go through and turn off the existing layers. If each of you want to start your own layer, then I'll turn on our background.
Okay.
But I do not want to lose any of this artwork. Especially the Buster Sword chicken. That's straight up design right there. That's like that. The character has never existed before until now.
That's why we get paid the bucks.
For sure. I'm ready for it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, hang on a second. There we go. I'm gonna pop in our background. All right.
Spicy.
So this is just, it's simple. I left some space too, because anybody that wanted to go, not be working on a costume over one of the models, and you want to paint something in the in between space. So still have fun with it, but just grab somebody and start jamming out.
All right.
Do we have enough for everybody? I think it's total 6.
This is the first time that I have ever joined any type of drawing jams. I know I'm not really sure what we're supposed to do. Do we just draw whatever?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can either. I mean, there's not like an assignment in terms of you have to fit within a certain parameter because this is more of a costume sketch session. I was just providing this background for anyone that wants to do costume design on top of one of the models, just using the model for structure. But you also can, fill in the space. You can go in behind or around some of the models and, do whatever you want to with it.
Oh, okay.
Everybody in all these models are already pretty cool.
I was just about to say that. I'm like,
like
they're already all the way set up. They're so cool looking. I don't even want to.
Like the only thing I can do is like start a new person back there, start him out naked, and then see maybe it's just a naked person there. But that's not really a character design. That's just like
Do it.
Feels like who cares? Let's go.
Go for it.
Thank you, Phil. I appreciate you.
Well, and do whatever you want with these guys. I tried to grab some different models with some different shape language and proportions, but like you can obliterate their costume. You can, paint out some of it. Do whatever you want to with it.
Okay, let's see. Do from the same fashion line. Let's go. This is a cool fashion line. Like, I want to know where I can buy clothing like this because I would wear it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these are all models I found on Pinterest. So I don't know. Pinterest has a clothing line.
Pinterest has a clothing line. Oh. Wait, really? Pinterest does have a clothing line?
No, I said if they did.
Oh.
If they did. No, I was on a feverish reference hunt for some runway models. Now, Carla, are you cool with like talking and painting at the same time? I don't want to put anybody on the spot.
Oh, yeah.
Can I ask some questions?
Yeah. I always equate like talking and painting at the same time, like drunk driving. But like, if you do it enough, you can do it.
Well, and this is super casual. So if anybody's like, if questions come up and stuff, and anybody's uncomfortable with like trying to draw and paint at the same time,
By the way, just a heads up, I don't advocate for anybody to learn how to drink and drive.
I was gonna be like Carla said it was okay, so.
Okay, yes, but yes, please.
Whatever. Yeah, I mean, every analogy ultimately breaks down, right? Like you can't make a one-to-one comparison on any analogy.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, and in this case, you're impaired with your drawing, but the stakes and the legalities of the situation are completely different.
Absolutely. Jesus, that'd be horrible. Imagine if you're just like, oh, I talk while I draw, and then suddenly a massive accident. You're like, what happened? Oh, man.
Yeah, so what I was going to ask you, Carla, is you're doing a lot of prolific work both digitally and traditionally. It seems like you're very active in both arenas. And I've watched both your oil painting process on a lot of things you've done, and I've watched your digital process. How does one inform the other for you? Do you find that they both inform each other, or are you taking more of your traditional painting techniques into digital?
That's a really good question. They're both kind of like... All right, actually, I'm going to need to stop drawing for that one. So the skills are still the same. I mean, obviously, with the exclusion of like on the wonderful undo, you know, like that in itself is something that you don't have the luxury for. But the skills are the same. I think I actually do utilize digital tools a lot to inform my traditional. Like, for example, I will build my own references, and I will do like kind of like photo bash paintings almost. Sometimes straight up just paintings digitally to explore the exact compositions that I want, and then just use that as like my references for oils. But one of the things that I do love about it is that like whenever I paint in oils and then immediately go to like digital, I notice that I don't doodle as much. Because because with oils, you really need to like pay attention to what you're doing. Otherwise, you can be easily like, oh no, I'm screwed, you know? I messed up. Now I have to repaint this whole area. So you're more attentive and more intentional with your brush strokes. So yeah, does that answer that question, sort of?
Totally. Yeah. Yay. No, it's just more what you think about it is the answer.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. It's super fun. I haven't painted in oils in a little bit, just because my schedule's been like crazy. But like, I got some paintings that I cannot wait to do. So it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, and I correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I heard you somewhere along the line in one of your like demos or workshops mention like for you as a painter, are you more comfortable painting shape and volume than like starting in line, or how does that work for you?
I mean, yeah, like even as I am right now, like, damn, that guy's cool. Even as I'm working right now, like I see like values and shapes and like light and darks. That's how I can best like identify what's going on. Some people, like for example, like Ian McKay or Wesley Burt, like they're like straight up draftsmanship that like they can like do a fantastic figure with just line. I don't. My brain doesn't see it that way. Like I have a really hard time distinguishing, like 3D forms with just line. So like even if it is a drawing or just like a linear, I will always kind of have like a fill-in of a shadow or something to help me see where I'm going, if that makes sense. It's tricky.
It does. The reason why I ask, like as a question for me is I tend to feel the same way. Like I find that painting shape and volume and even starting with silhouette and that kind of stuff just makes sense to me more. So I've been trying to push myself in my draftsmanship, but like if I just want to relax and chill, it's so much easier for me just to start with volume.
Yeah. It just varies. Some artists can do both. Some artists lean in either direction, and it's not one way's better than the other. It's just how our brains kind of see it, That's all.
Yeah.
my dude needs some pants because like otherwise he's just like shh. I was gonna say something and then I'm like, no, I should.
He's got the ghost pants going on.
Yeah. Let's do something here. There we go. Keep that PG.
But all these guys are turning out really cool.
Not a fan. No. Yeah. So people are actually doing cool designs. I'm just doing a guy hanging out in the back. Hey guys.
He's like, hey, what's up?
Hey.
Hey.
I want to give him a name. His name is like Fabiolo.
Fabio.
Sold.
But the name of Fabiolo makes me think that he needs like luscious hair.
What do you do, Fabiolo?
Oh yeah, he's got like, yes! He's got fashion hair.
That's what he's got.
He's got fashion hair. Don't talk to him.
Does he like chicken?
Does he what?
Does he like chicken?
Does he like bacon?
Chickens.
No. Fabiolo doesn't like chickens. They're dirty.
Dang.
Yeah, Fabiolo's kind of a bitch. Can I say that? I'm so sorry.
Sounds high maintenance.
Yeah. Oh no, Fabio, no, not you. This isn't you. This is Fabiolo. But Fabiolo is also very fabulous. Like, don't forget.
So my apologies, guys. I was trying to figure out how to kind of rotate everybody's webcams, but that seems to be a limitation of this streaming platform.
Okay.
So I'll kind of zoom in and out from time to time because I don't want to exclude anyone. But Fabiola looks very deep in thought right now.
He is. I think Fabiola's kind of angry because he doesn't have the same cool outfits as everyone else. He's like the designer's afterthought.
Oh no.
and like he's not very happy about it because he's like, I'm fabulous. I should have gotten more than this.
This character, the project ran out of runway and they would just slap something together really fast.
Yeah, they're just like, listen, just go. We gotta go, babe. We gotta go.
Imogene, I think, are you working on? I like this guy. I think you kind of turned him into more like an alien.
I guess,
yeah. Super cool.
Cool.
This is the fumes my brain is running on right now from this week.
Awesome.
So neat.
Well, you got some. Those are some good fumes. Looking really cool.
It's called fashion.
Absolutely. And I know, at least from my point of view, guys, like, you know, obviously there's a lot of overlap between character design and concepting out and designing a costume. And then there, depending on the project, you can be anywhere in that spectrum. Like if you're much more heavy on the costume and what you're illustrating is the costume, or if you're full on like designing a character from scratch, obviously, if it's a humanoid character, you know, a lot of that is going to be the costume that comes into play. But what do you guys like? I know that I think Phil, Mike, Imogene, maybe some others as well. But I know that you guys are working very much in the world of working together with costume designers as concept artists. Can either of you talk about that a little bit? Because I think that's, for me as a concept artist, was kind of a new stream to look into, to say, oh, like costume designers are looking for concept artists to work with them.
I'll start with that. I've primarily done that as my career choice. It's been an interesting balance because it's a job that not a lot of people know about, but it's a job that very much so is utilized all the time, especially if you're doing something like, like a high concept, very like a specialty costume show, like some of the Marvel ones and stuff like that, where you're having to try and like figure things out. I think it's or at least in terms of like even like space suits, anything where there's a specialty costume, that's what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
So space suits, superhero suits, you name it. And I think that working with them has been interesting because what it is it's like you're sharing, a part of your process, a part of your brain. It's a very collaborative effort in order to kind of come to that final product that you all get on the screen. Different avenues of it as well. Like, there's a lot of the live action films that require several different concept artists to come on and work together on projects. So you'll have teams of 2, 3. Marvel works special Marvel. We got to shout out to the visual development department because they do a lot of the initial designs, especially for the main characters from Marvel, to try and get those characters to be as as accurate as possible, comic accurate, and making sure that they don't stray away from the source material so far. And then there's other parts of it where you just there's the creativity involved. Like we have to use Carla as an example. There's a creativity for her to say, I think Doctor Strange should look like Benedict Cumberbatch. And so that's what painted. And then that's what happened. Like that literally came from the power of concept design.
It was creepy. No, that is exactly what happened though.
That's pretty much exactly the way that happened.
Wait, did you cast him in your art and then they cast him?
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that it was me that did it. It feels good to say it, but like I think about like about a month or so when I jumped in Doctor Strange, we were doing just ideas, and the thing that you do in concept where you kind of sort of draw a character to sort of look like someone, but not really, like enough for someone to show the actor, and the actor's like, ooh, that could be me. We had for a little bit, I think, Joaquin Phoenix was in the running for a second there. And then they were like, you know what, Carla, just like do who you think would be. And I thought, could be, I thought of different actors. I thought about, hold on, let me see. Pedro Pascal. I thought he'd make a really good Doctor Strange. And I also thought, Benedict Cumberbatch would do an amazing Doctor Strange. And I did a concept that kind of felt like him. And then like a month afterwards, they're like, yeah, it's Benedict. And I'm like, whoa, I sound like him. But I don't know if, it's fun to pretend that but yeah.
That's pretty cool though.
Gotta say. I think it's just one of those things. We work a lot, depending on, we collaborate with a lot of people in costume. And it's been a fun job because you get to learn a lot. So there's a lot of research involved. There's a lot of historical research involved. There's a lot of conceptual research involved too, just like figuring out like how things work, how they function. And then there's the added, knowledge of them being able to figure out how things are actually going to come to fruition and, in practice, like what they're really going to be. That's something that the artists end up having to learn as well. It's a full process. And, now with the technology involved too, we have scans of the actors and things like that we can work with and utilize. There's all the proportional things, and then trying to figure out stuff with the vendors that are making the costumes. I mean, it's a full process. It's like, it's a whole thing. And it's just something that a lot of people don't really know about, in terms of like how we all kind of work. I think the bare minimum, you can say that everything you see on screen, whether it be animation, video game, or, live action, was drawn and designed first. That's just a common, commonality across all of our mediums together. And a lot of the people here are doing that work. Like they're sitting there doing that work and trying to figure it out. I tell Griselda all the time, she's doing a lot of costume design for Disney. In a way, when you go into that world, like if you're doing something for Frozen or any of those or Moana, that part becomes harder actually, because at least in live action, I can go to the store and buy some of the stuff. So I can say, okay, I'm deciding this is going to be chiffon. So I can go and source chiffon.
Yeah.
In animation, it's like, okay, this is chiffon. Not only do you have to figure that out, but then they have to figure out how to make the computer figure out what chiffon is and how it moves and how it functions and the physics of it and how translucent it is. It's a very detailed process, but the processes in the same as far as design are the same.
Yes.
Costume design is costume design across all different platforms. It's just how you approach it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think the thing that has been really cool to me, what concept artists are doing for costume designers is you're designing, at least for live action, is like you said, you're designing for an actual person, like an actual actor, and a sense of in their personality and their body type. So there's a whole other level of design that comes into it, and that's really cool.
Good job, for sure.
Now, I did want to talk to Griselda because I've been a fan of your work, and I think you're doing something really cool over here on the canvas too. I love how you are stylizing our model here. But what can you tell us about, like with what Phil was saying, like costume design for a more stylized animated feature? How do you approach that when you're working with, I think, maybe both the freedoms and maybe the constraints that provides?
What happened?
Yeah.
Oh, weird.
It's Phil is absolutely right about costume design, and it's the first time I met Phil a while back, like last year, right, Phil?
Yeah,
only
last year. Yes.
When we were at Disney, I was doing some costume work too already, but it was an animation. It wasn't like as focused as it is right now. I really think that Frozen really changed the game for artists in animation. I feel like Michael Giammo, he was the guy who really brought costume design forward in animation. Mm-hmm. Like Michael Giammo, he is the production designer for Frozen, the first one, and he was always been a big fan of costume. Like he did a lot of wonderful work. And when he sees the medium, he saw an opportunity on how can we bring, real costume design from live action to a Disney musical. Like he's been a fan of theater. Like I've learned a lot about costuming from him. Like, we're watching a lot of like classic movies. We're, designs and, overall, his approach is we are making it as if this is for live action and for theater. Having it be animation, the interesting part is that my background is also learning the proportion of animated character, which is slightly different, than a real human being. So that part is interesting, learning about to push and pull about that. But I think the process is pretty similar. I've never worked on live action, so I can't say for sure it's the same. But from animation, we're designing the characters too, on top of designing the costume. And when it comes down to production, it gets pretty nutty because everything needs to be called out. Like the packaging is massive, it's intense. Because we're doing the job for the designer, we're doing the job of the illustrator, and then now we're kind of doing the job of like the seamstress also.
Yeah.
And knowing how fabric behaves, and not only knowing how fabric behaves, but also how do we do stylized fabric behave. Like I am in nonstop learning. I feel like throughout my whole career, I always look back at Sleeping Beauty at the way, Milk Call does fabric, the way Tom Orip does fabric. That's the piece. And that's what we're shooting for. Even today at Disney, we are shooting on how do we do those stylized shapes, because we can't control it. And we need to basically teach the program to make fabric behave certain things and make it also feel believable. So that part has been fun and challenging. This is definitely something that I never thought I would be doing at the beginning of my career. Like I started in environment, like many art center students back then. We all start in environment, and then somehow I get to channel my love of fashion and costume design in animation, which is great. But I hope that answered it, not just like
more than answering it. No, more than answering it. And I'm always very curious about the process for artists working on stylized projects. I was talking with Casey Kuo about this yesterday. All of my art is much more realism for like thinking about live action and those kinds of things. But I look at what stylized artists do, and it's taking all of the detail and understanding of anatomy, and like you're talking about fabric and all of that, but then how do you stylize it? What aspects about that anatomy or that fabric or that thing are you going to push forward? What are you going to exaggerate? How are you going to interpret it? And I feel like there's this whole other layer of design that seems to happen for stylized artists, because you are stylizing something, but it still has to feel grounded in the real world and understandable by the human mind. So all of that's super cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of observation, I have to say. There's a lot of I feel that my background, doing like traditional work really helps. Like I didn't start doing digital painting until later on in my semester, because of course back then it's not as much, like even Photoshop is not as great as the way it is now. Back in my days, we didn't even have the warp tool. So if we have to, like render something, we have to like lovingly cut it up to pieces. And then I don't know if you remember that or not.
Yeah. No, I remember the first version of Photoshop.
Yes.
And then like drawing in the early versions of Corel Painter before we had a Photoshop.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and I really think it helps, like doing, playing with color. Like I really think that there's no possible way that I could understand how color behave if I never play with paint, because it's not the same. It's not the same at all. And I'm just amazed with how, like the students these days, they just, they go to paint right away. I mean, not they go to paint, they go to like digital work right away, and they somehow figured it out. I'm just blown away. I don't know how that works. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And now, Mike, if you don't mind me asking you some questions while you're working, I'm going to bring your... I've been kind of playing a puzzle game with everybody's webcams. It's like trying to fit everybody in at different times, if you've been noticing. So let me bring you in here. I'm just going to have you hopefully swap places with Carla, see what I can do. Let's see here. Just bring you over, and I think we're good. Yeah, now I had to ask you, obviously, I don't think the audience saw my background, but you knowing my background, when I turn on my webcam, I've got to ask you about working on The Mandalorian. You worked with Sean Tripsick. We recently saw an image of your designs for Ahsoka drop on social media, which were incredibly cool. But what can you tell us about what it was like to work on that project, and also work with the costume designer dealing with such iconic characters?
Yeah, so I worked on it. I want to say it was, damn, what? Time passes by so fast. I think it was about 2 years ago. And, to be 100% honest, it was really fast paced. Like,
I don't doubt it.
The fastest project I ever worked on. I think like in the very beginning, Shauna was cool because she was just like, I was like, hey, can I paint in watercolor? She was like, yeah, sure. I was like, oh shit, bro. So that was one of the things that I thought was really cool. And we were like kind of playing around with that. But then as things got even faster, and I need to start doing like different versions, I was like, all right, you know what, let's nix the watercolor idea and just jump into traditional. I mean, I'm jumping to digital, but I tried to kind of fit in with what the style for that show was, which is different from the other work I do, but also trying to kind of look back at like the Ian McKeggs and things like that, stylistically, because I really love their work. It's like so iconic even now. yeah, it was really cool. It was such a different project compared to everything else. Like there's been projects prior where, you know, they would need 3D or they need photo and stuff like that. And, you know, for that project, they're like, yeah, we're cool with the drawing. I was like, oh shit. Like it was super cool. But yeah, I think we went through so many different versions of that character. You know, we had very little time, and then it was really cool because at the end of the day, it ended up being kind of a collaborative process where, say, the gauntlets were designed by, I think it was Brian. Yes. But then like the rest of the costume, for the most part, was like me, and so it was like kind of cool combining.
That's really cool, yeah.
To the final image, but yeah, it was really cool because to be honest, I was like creeping on Reddit. I was like, let's see what everybody says about these characters before I start designing them. You know, because you hear I don't want to see this character wearing this. I'm like, all right, cool. So no, it was really dope though. I really enjoyed that process. Because to be honest, I never even used Reddit before that time. And also even like looking at seeing the idea that the casting was actually chosen by the fans. So that was another cool kind of seeing like the people like saying like, oh, like I hope, you know, this person is gonna play Ahsoka, and I was like, if only you guys knew. So
that's great. Well, and it's funny because like you know, fans, you know, because we are so passionate, people are so passionate about these things that they love. You'll never be able to avoid certain criticisms or certain complaints. But no, I feel like the way that the team has handled that show has been just absolutely brilliant. Something I've been curious about, because you talked about kind of that collaboration with, you know, some of Brian Matias's design as well as your interpretations. I know that sometimes on these projects, like the character is already fully designed, and then the costume designer is interpreting that design for a costume for live action. Then you've got kind of what you described there, where Brian did a certain portion of it, and then you had more that you and Shauna were working on. How does that work from project to project?
I'd say, like, say for example, at Marvel, something that I've seen is you can be inspired, right? Like you can have many people doing one take on a character, and a lot of times it could be vastly different. But if your character or your version of that character is leaning more towards what the producers and directors want, then a lot of times you can also incorporate some of the things that other people like into your character design. And so that is one version of it. But then also, for example, on that project, on Mandalorian, it was really different because not being in the studio, there was very little communication. So it was mainly between me and the costume designer. So I would see certain things that the other team would turn in, but you know, she would usually want me to go a vastly different route, which I was totally cool with. So I think ultimately it's very similar to the Marvel instance where we would turn work in, and then I think it was Favreau would be like, oh yeah, I like this. Yeah. And then we would just keep on moving forward because, you know, the majority of a character was already designed. It would be like little changes. I think also, like Shauna described, she told a story on, I think, Phil's podcast once where she was saying how when we were designing, I think it was Boba Fett's like main costume, or his Ronin costume. She told me not to use a certain color, and I used it anyway. And then they actually ended up liking it. So she was like, "Don't use white. Like, just have them be in all black." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I still use white anyway. And then they're like, "Oh, I actually like that." And I was like, "That's funny." So that happens quite a bit. So I hate to say this, but I also want to say sometimes don't do what you're told, or do what you're told and then do also what you want.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of artists talk about that. There's a nuance to that, and a lot of it I think also has to do with like how well you know the people you're working with, or you know, maybe some previous experience. But I always hear about artists taking risks and trying to pick the right time to take that risk.
Right. Yeah, I think a lot of it just ends up being like instincts. Like, you know, we're all artists. We've been kind of groomed in the visual arts since most of us were like children. So, you know, you'll have a certain taste level that should oftentimes be respected. And a lot of times the producers and directors, they're artists in their own right, but not like that. So sometimes you kind of know better. And I think it's just having the confidence to know that very thing, that you can probably come up with a really cool idea and that may change your mind, maybe not, but you know, it's worth a try. Because when it comes time to get roasted online, your ass is on the line. So.
I really like that advice. That is really, really good advice. That's really great. I love that you are bringing the fact that, hey, we are our own artists. It's great, you know, they have their own idea. We address it, but you still follow your instinct too. Because I think as a commercial artist, it's a balance, right? To like, so you don't lose yourself, but how do you stay employed at the same time?
100%. I mean, speaking of that, like I've had that before where, you know, primarily I used to love painting and that's what I would do all the time. Then I started to get a certain number of jobs that would only require one set of skills. And I was like, dude, I'm getting so mad because then when I would try to paint, I was starting to lose my skill set. And it's kind of like what you just said, you're kind of losing your identity a little bit. So there always has to be that thing where you bring where you bring yourself into your work instead of, or do a lot of personal work, which I don't usually have time to do too much anymore.
Oh my God.
Speaking of that, one of the questions that has come up in the chat is, what do you guys, you know, like to do to kind of unwind or blow off steam? Like, how do you sustain yourself as a human in the midst of that high-paced, you know, doing a lot of production work? And I'm not going to make this something like everybody has to go down the line and answer, but who wants to chime in on that subject? Like, what do you do for fun?
The video games.
All right.
Say cricket, radio, work too much.
Oh my God. Yeah, I want to know. Like, I'm struggling. I don't know if you all.
I was going to say, yeah, with great difficulty, do we do?
Yeah, I'm struggling. I have a 2-year-old.
Do we unwind?
Yeah, like right now, like we make it into a real priority for us to spend quality time with him and do artwork. So most of my personal artwork is chalk drawing or water painting on the side. You know, so it's not. And I'm getting ready. For the teenage year because I remember that art really saved me as a teenager because, and I also know that artists or kids who can express themselves usually don't get in trouble as much. So we're preparing ourselves for that, even though he's 2 years old. But overall, I don't know how people do it. Phil, how do you do it? You have a kid.
Yeah, no, honestly, when she said that, I was like, I love that she said that because it's completely real. It's hard. It's very difficult to balance. I talk to Mike about it all the time. It's very difficult to balance our kind of work life, all of the things we have going on in a company, and then also balance like family life and like what it is. So I feel like a lot of the times blowing off steam for me is I will try to play like a video game every once in a while. I have a dad's group where we play Call of Duty a couple of times a week.
Nice.
We're awful and we're old and we get killed all the time. It's fun. Which is just like kind of a fun way to go. Shout out to Team Icy Hot.
Wait, is your name on there though?
Our actual team name is Icy Hot.
That's pretty lit.
I love it.
That's awesome.
And I think it's one of those things that it is hard because especially like where Griselda is right now in the age that she's in is very difficult because there's a lot that is needed. It does start to get a little bit easier to balance out once your kid can take a little bit more initiative, like they can take care of themselves more. But then at the same time, it's just difficult. It's a difficult balance, and you're constantly fighting that balance and trying to find like time to hang out or time to do stuff. And I'm gonna say I'm horrible at it. I still feel like learning. I'm still feeling like I'm learning how to do it. You know, a very difficult balance. And I talk to a lot of my friends that work in film. I do feel lucky to be working at home. right now, but I also feel lucky in the sense that, you know, when I look at my other film friends, it's even harder for them because, you know, you've got costume designers, production designers where they're gone, they're physically gone. Like they have to leave and go shoot all over the world for 4 months or 5 months or 6 months or a whole year. Like, you know, that balance is really difficult. So
yeah,
I definitely think it's worth it to try and put it in there, but it's for fun. I do still read. I do sometimes try to draw for fun, like to actually draw for fun. I don't get to it as much as I'd like. And yeah, pretty much at all. I think that's all artists. I have all these ideas that I don't ever get a chance to draw. And yeah, like Carlos said, video games are helpful. I actually do forced now. I'll do forced time to do anything other than sit at my computer. So I'll do like a forced walk or a forced like just go and make myself something to eat, or just anything that I can do. I force sit on the front porch and watch people go by. Anything that kind of allows me to have a mental break. And then if I'm completely struggling with something, I've always said it's probably because I stopped learning. Like, so it's probably because I'm just phoning it in. Like if I've been sitting and drawing a hand for an hour, it's time to take a break and come back and start again with something else. So I don't know. That's the artist question, isn't it? Like it's kind of like how we're balancing what do we do for fun. I would say travel. Travel was my favorite before pandemic.
But we can't travel now.
Travel. So that would have probably been my first answer, but we all know going. That's a mess right now. So
yeah, and thank you for that. And because it is a vulnerable question. I think especially, I don't know, most working artists that I talk to, we still do really enjoy what we do. So, you know, sometimes that can kind of take over, and then you have to find that balance. Now I'm changing subjects. Kay, the chicken is back.
Yes,
that was Mike.
Was that Mike?
Oh, no!
I just did a little click there, though.
I saw your cursor down there. I thought you were creeping on the chicken.
She did the
I
chick.
gave it a little bit of a kick.
I'm worried now.
Yeah.
It's coming for Carla.
I'm so worried. Why me? What I
I'm
do?
ready.
It's the Chrono Chicken is coming back.
Oh no! I'm so worried, y'all.
Let's see. I'm going to try to take a few more questions from the chat because the chat's been really patient. I'm just going to roll back a little bit here. Let's see.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, you know, for those of you who are in the Costume Designers Guild, we did have a question come in from an international viewer who was asking, you know, how to break into doing illustration and concept for costume design if they're living overseas and joining the guild is not necessarily an option. Is there? Do you guys have any insights for that, or have you heard of other situations like that?
That's a hard one because the union is so specific to like where you are, you know, or like if you can join unions or you can join guilds. Depending on where you are internationally, there might be some. I know there's a lot in the States, you know, there's different unions for every state and stuff like that. And I think it's a harder balance. I think international, it seems like the pipeline seems to be to try to either network or meet designers that are working overseas. And seeing if you can either PA or try to see if you can get onto a job where you're like either like assisting or shadowing or something like that. I think that's kind of worth it too. It's a hard question because there's not a definitive like pipeline answer. Especially like even if you were coming, like you were here where I am in Los Angeles, like to join the union, you need like letters of recommendation, and you have to have, you know, letters of recommendation to show you can do the job. You have to show your portfolio. There's a whole thing to get into the union, but then once you are in the union, it basically allows you to collaborate with the people that you're seeing here, but it also allows you to work on union projects. So it's a little bit more involved. I would say to go even maybe just go to the Costume Designers Guild site and start to poke around there and to look at like what it takes to be in a union. But if you're international and not here, the thing I would do is maybe start to completely reach out. These chickens are going crazy. It's awesome.
I know. I can't stop looking. I'm like over here trying to finish my fashion dude, and I'm like, oh god, I'm so frightened, and it's so threatening too.
He's not
to reach out to the designers that you like the most and see if they'll write you back. That's probably the thing.
Yeah, I can definitely second that as someone who has done reaching out themselves. Like people in the industry, at least my experience, are incredibly friendly. And if you can ask a question that has a specific answer, I've found that people, usually do give answers and write back and respond. So yeah, just getting to know people and being friendly goes a long way too. Let's see. I'm then kind of browsing through the questions here. Everybody's talking about the chicken. We got a lot of chicken comments going on. We did have a question about, and I know that everybody's process is different, and maybe that helps provide some different perspectives on this, because it's not about one correct answer. But someone was wondering, in the world working specifically in costume, what do you feel is the balance between the usefulness of straight up painting, blending into implementing photo for texture and things like that?
What do you think, Mike? I would say whatever works. Like that's the way that I always approach it. It's whatever works. Your main goal is to sell. Your main goal is to sell the idea. So you have to switch your style up and what you're doing to do that. I have no qualms about that. I like, some people are like very specific about it. I'm just like, if you're using 3D, use 3D. If you are painting, paint. If you want to photo bash something in really quick, because a lot of the times we don't have time. So it's like, I'm not going to sit there and be like, you've got Idris Elba and he's doing this and blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to sit there and be like, I'm going to paint Idris Elba and make it. I'm not doing that. I'm like, where's his face? Grab it. Like, I'm going for it if I don't have time, relative. You still need to keep those skills up, but sometimes you just have to get it done. Sometimes also too, all of the other artists will be able to attest to this. Sometimes we have a lot of time. Sometimes we don't.
These chickens, no.
Right? So it depends on, I say to go for whatever is going to get the job done in the most efficient way to where you can deliver. Because as an illustrator, that's your primary concern. You need to deliver.
Yeah.
I for me as well, because I'll paint Idris Elba's face.
No, she will. Wait, it's the exact opposite. Carla's gonna be like, I'm a nail.
But I'm also like masochistic about it. I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know if I'm working. Yeah, I don't know if I'm like, that saying, work smarter, not harder. I'm the opposite, but I think it comes from a place of just like, be aware that like all these tools are available to you and they're important to use them, because sometimes you need that like break in case of emergency hammer for sure.
Yep.
But for me, so much of it has been like what makes me happy, and I'm very selfish about that. Like painting makes me happy. I tried doing 3D and it didn't do it for me as much as I wish it would have, because it would have probably made my life way easier. But yeah, no, it's really important to, as Phil was saying, like execute, and sometimes you don't have time, and to like not worry about worry more about the final delivery and getting results. But if you do have a little bit of time,
well, here's the key thing. I will say it's know thyself. Meaning,
yes,
Carla's default and her strength is painting, right? That's not mine. So you have to default to what you know best to be able to. When I say deliver, I'm not saying you must do whatever. I'm saying know yourself. Like,
yes,
play to your strengths, play to your happiness, but also know yourself. Like, because that's going to be the thing that you're going to carry through, right?
And that's like the key right there too. And like know the limits of like what you can, like for example, like I will paint, like if I have time, like my strategy changes depending on the times that I have. Like if I have like days to, do one character, then yeah, I will lovingly take my time, render out the face, do all those things. But if I got like a day or a couple hours, I will just go really quickly with my brush marks and do the bare minimum to make it clear and, readable. And it's just because I've learned how to do that. And for some people that can come in, in 3D. For some people that can be photo bashing, whatever it is. But yeah, exactly. Phil, you have good advice. and I'm just here painting chickens, you know.
Well, I love the spectrum of response there, because I think there is, there's no silver bullets ever, and so the advice of knowing yourself. And also, I hear you, Carlos, also saying that, like, when you can paint, that's also part of your self-care, right? Like,
well, it's what makes me happy,
Yeah.
And it might not, and that changes for different people,
Absolutely.
So, like, for example, like Ian, like he doesn't like to render. I'm sorry, Ian McKay, he doesn't like to render things. He just likes to,
Nor does he ever have to.
Nor does he, because he just loves.
He can just draw like.
He loves the story aspect of things. He loves getting it immediately, down. Some people love to just render forever, and like, and I think it's just a matter of like finding what makes you happy, but also understanding that you're, at the end of the day, it's still a job. You're still a professional, and you have to deliver. And you have to strategize and find ways on how to best deliver without judgment from yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great advice, because you don't want to, and no pun intended, but you don't want to paint yourself into a corner using tools that you hate using. So you need to know yourself and find your own strengths while balancing that out with getting the job done. And it sounds like that's the real work of it.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Look at us giving great. We're so good.
This is awesome, guys. Yeah.
Like,
we paint chickens. Why did this guy become the chicken man? Is it just because Michael, did you do this?
I'm sorry. Yes.
he's so cool. He's got familiars. No one else has. Wait, the little cat. Never mind.
I'm sliding up the canvas a little bit so that the audience can see all of the chicken epic that's occurring.
I think our characters need familiars, but it's 2019 already.
Oh shit!
You guys have done a lot in a short period of time. It's pretty awesome.
I did not feel like this much time passed by.
No, and I want to keep going.
We're having fun.
I know. I always have so much fun with this.
Hey, the stream has to finish at a certain time, but I'm totally okay with hanging out after and chilling for anybody that wants to, because this is a highlight for me, just watching you guys work.
This chicken over here is like striking a pose.
For real, look at that leg extension. Pointed toes and everything. I'm all for it. Pointed toes.
Hey, Kay, I wanted to ask you a little bit about, I know that you've worked on a lot of stuff with Netflix, is that right?
Yes.
And is that primarily with the animation department, or what kind of projects have you worked on?
It's both, actually. I got very fortunate to work with incredible directors. Shannon Tyndall, he's coming up with amazing projects. I got to work on one of them, which is a live action film. It's going to be directed by Peter Ramsey, so look out for that. It's called Lost Ollie. It's heartwarming and touching. I guess my highlight right now, like recently, was I got to pitch to one of my favorite directors, Ava DuVernay, up at Netflix, and yeah, that was an incredible experience just to meet her and show the work, and for her to respond to it and stuff. So I feel very blessed to have worked closely more with the directors. But my part comes in very early on, as like everyone else. Sometimes there's no script. It's just the producer, and it's amazing. They give you all the freedom.
Well, Netflix animation has been putting out some really cool stuff. Even just during the pandemic, it seems like all of the streaming services really upped their game during the pandemic, because they knew that everybody was at home watching their services, and some of the stuff that's coming out of Netflix animation has just been really cool.
Yeah, they're quite the scary big machine right now. They've got almost everybody that they want in there.
Seriously.
That's so cool, Kay.
That's super cool, Kay. That's awesome. Congrats.
Yeah, but you know, like with concept art, you never know if it's gonna come or not, right? That's why the biggest thing is to just enjoy the process and enjoy the people. I think for me nowadays, it's like it's the crew that keeps me going, keeps me there, keeps me inspired. Right? It's those connections.
That's cool.
Yeah, I love being with other people when I'm working on art. I know that some people might be more like just kind of want to stick to their own, but I love that feeling of getting an idea that you never thought of just from something that someone else said. And maybe they weren't even talking about what you're working on, but it's just sort of that serendipitous thing that can happen when you're hanging out with other people.
Yeah, I miss being in the studio for that reason, just to get the energy. But at the same time, I'm grateful to be at home, and
Yes.
I'm grateful that we can, I'm grateful that we can keep working, regardless this crazy pandemic happening. And I'm also grateful that I can watch Alex grow this past year and a half, because I was so mopey before, because I got a huge postpartum depression, and I was like, oh, I want to go back to work. I want to see my baby grow. And then I get to do both right now, which is incredible.
That's awesome.
And yeah, so I'm happy about that. Yeah, and then
That's awesome.
yeah, so it's been fun. I like that a lot. So is everyone else working for animation besides me and Kay, or is everyone in live action?
Live action. I'm in live action. Yeah. Who painted the robot duck?
And then
I did.
I wonder.
Imogene, in our last, we've got a little bit of time left. Haven't gotten a chance to ask you a lot yet. Can you tell us a little bit about, because I know when we last talked, I think you were doing stuff for Marvel. Is that right? And what types of projects have you been working on?
Well, I'm not sure how much I can say, but Phil and I are currently on Masters of the Universe for Netflix.
Ooh.
We have.
It's been a crazy ride so far.
Wow.
It's been really fun.
Wait, is that going to be live action, or is it going to be?
Yes.
Whoa. Okay.
I'm stoked for that.
That is spectacular. I was literally, sometimes when I have the time, I like to watch Saturday morning cartoons to get back into that kid space. And I was watching the oh man, I'm trying to remember the title, but the recent stylized He-Man like short series that was just released not too long ago. Yeah. We were watching. We're not through it yet, so no spoilers. But
the new ones, right?
Yeah, the new ones. My wife and I have been watching that with our kids because we're all fans.
Oh, awesome!
Awesome.
Yeah, it's really fun to have a nerd family.
I bet. But no, this has been really cool because it's one of the first, besides working for Marvel, it's one of the first times that I've worked with a costume designer that truly uses us as concept artists as opposed to costume illustrators. Yeah, she relies on us to really collaborate and contribute ideas and everything to help develop all these characters, because every single one of them is very heavily involved. Design-wise, we're basically world building for this, which is really exciting and cool.
Well, and to me, it would seem like a bit of a daunting task of taking something that's so well known as a stylized cartoon and interpret it for live action.
Right, and sort of modernizing it and maybe elevating it from its original. Was it in the 80s? Is that when the original came out? 70s? Yeah, from its sort of 80s style of superheroes, I guess.
Yeah.
Early 80s.
Oh yeah, and the 80s are getting a lot of love these days. It's been really awesome being a kid of the 80s myself.
We're all old and in charge. That's why.
Yeah, I think
right. We're finally in the captain's chair.
I hate that. No.
Listen, I thought about it. And I was like, ooh, they're making all the stuff I love, and I was like, oh no.
Yes.
That was we're making all the stuff we love.
Yeah, I feel you.
Does that mean in like 15 years we're gonna see a live action SpongeBob?
Yeah,
We already have live action.
I have those, but you know what I mean. Yes, completely. Whatever it is. Like,
Yeah.
I stopped counting now. I stopped.
Yeah, we already have live action SpongeBob, and it's pretty glorious. Like with Antonio Banderas in it.
Yeah.
So,
That's
really
true.
enjoy it.
That's
Which
true.
also was designed by Shauna Tripsick, who did Mandalorian.
That's amazing.
Shauna's done some really cool projects.
Yeah.
The type of work we do, we end up doing so varied and wonderful. I might need to head on out soon because I have a panel later, and
Yeah,
I
no
need
worries,
to
Carla.
prep for that. But I added more chicken, like little chicks, for color harmony purposes.
Yes. Strictly compositional purposes.
It unifies everything.
Yeah,
That
I might
one
need to
chick.
do that.
Well,
later.
and we've kind of come full circle. That's actually very poetic. We began with the chicken, and now it's the chicken is the bookend as we're nearing the end of our stream. But yeah, Carla, you head out anytime you need to. Just be sure to turn off your webcam so that we can't hear you getting ready for your next thing or any NDA stuff.
So funny.
Actually, that could be like a whole podcast in and of itself.
I start screaming to my boyfriend, "Hey, go get me that thing!" And people be like, "Damn."
We've got one last question that came in for Imogene. I think I'll take this as our last question. And they're just wondering, Imogene, what are your go-to sources for inspiration for your designs? And it sounds like they're already...
I love how they said other than Pinterest. I'm like,
Yeah. I was trying to bring that part of the question in gracefully, but yeah.
Other than Pinterest. Well, I tend to look at a lot of modern fashion, actually. Specific, like especially if I'm doing some kind of ball gown or some fabulous extravagant character, there's some really amazing stuff happening in fashion. So I'm on Vogue.com constantly because they basically have an archive of every single show from every year, from every season, really amazing high quality photographs. And I just find myself there a lot looking for inspiration. And it definitely shows sometimes to my own detriment. Like my characters a lot of the time come out as these sort of high fashion Amazon goddesses that either end up totally working for the character or it's totally obvious that, I sort of, went too far in the high fashion zone. So that's definitely something that I go back and forth working on. But it is what I love. And my background is actually in fashion design. So I've always sort of gravitated towards that for inspiration.
That's very cool. It might have even been you because I was immediately thinking of Vogue, going to Vogue's sites, and I think it was you who probably turned me on to that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think that was the first time I went and looked, and I went there and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like an encyclopedia of design.
It really is. It's incredible. But you know what? Gotta look at Pinterest. I always have about 50 Pinterest tabs opened up.
Oh yeah.
My browser.
Although sometimes you have to get really crafty at your Pinterest searches. Yeah. Like I'll see like sometimes the same image come up, or like a few years later, I've done a design. I'm like, man, it looks a lot like a design I did and I realized, I was using some of the exact same reference.
No, you
for my
fall
board.
into the same exact Pinterest wormholes, basically.
Vortex, yeah.
It's funny too. Whenever if I'm working with a costume designer, she'll give me some reference photos, and I'll end up on whatever Pinterest rabbit hole she was on. It's like click on one image, and then I see all the other images. And she's like, oh, I found it. Found the Pinterest wormhole.
Yeah, I've had a few like just friends and other artists that we've managed to find each other's Pinterest boards. Yeah. And like Kyle Brown, I went and raided his Pinterest board when I was in class with him, and it was really cool because. Yeah, well, but people gravitate to different images, so it was a great way for me to look at stuff that I wasn't necessarily finding on my own all the time. Cool. Well, I want to be respectful of all your guys' time. We're at 2:30 now, so it's time to wrap. But this has been a fantastic voyage from the origins in the chicken, the Buster Sword chicken, to now the chicken color harmony, with some amazing designs in between, like every one of these images. And like Carla, I love what was his name again? Fabiano. Fabiolo was not even in the image to begin with. Fabiolo apparated from Carla's pen, and then really cool and totally unique designs unto themselves that all you guys have transformed these models into. Everybody's got their own thing going on, which is really cool. Especially considering that, like, I wound up with a lot of reference images that felt like they came from similar fashion shows.
It's true.
Yeah, these guys all look like they came from a different show. Like, this is the after party.
But please remember, Fabiola was the afterthought. He ran at the end of the show. It's like, quick, gotta catch up.
He feels like the underdog now, though, because like Fabiola went from very humble beginnings.
No, he's
now
not humble.
Fabiola has all this flair.
No, he's not humble. Look at that mustache.
That mustache is impossible.
Yeah, look at that mustache. You know he doesn't come from humble beginnings.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm going to zoom out so we can get everybody on the screen. There we go. All right. But guys, thank you so much for taking the time today. This was a super fun hang. Like, I love this. This is one of the things I love the most, is just get to hang out with other artists. So thank you everybody for sharing your passion and having fun here on the canvas. And to all of our viewers, thanks for tuning in and hanging with us today. There are plenty of other activities happening constantly, almost nearly around the clock at Lightbox. So do be sure to check out that schedule and keep yourself going to things that you love. We will be back on this streaming with the Gnomon stream tomorrow for some more drawing jams, and that will be 3 of them. There'll be one that will be a character design sketch session on Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. It'll be 11 to 12:30. We've got some fantastic artists coming in to work on characters. Their names are listed in the schedule. The second one on Sunday will be at 1:30, and that will be a creature sketch session. Super fun. We've got a ton of artists on that one. And then the last one on Sunday will be at 4:30 p.m. Pacific time, and that will be a caricature sketch session, which is also great. So go check those out on the schedule to see what artists are showing up. And everybody just keep staying safe and staying creative. And thanks to all our artists for being here today. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. It was a blast.
Love you guys. Enjoy your day.
Thanks for having us.